A good old taste of nostalgia. Finally released on Steam. Although, for some reason, not without black bars. Well, that'll have to do. Hey, what's going on, geeks? Maxusthebeast is here, and welcome back to Out of the Blue Reviews. Today, we're taking a look at the Steam version of Star Wars Battlefront Classic 2004. This game has a strong connection with me. It was the first ever Star Wars game that I played, followed by Revenge of the Sith on PlayStation 2. These games mean a lot to me, and Star Wars Battlefront 2 Classic has been on Steam for ages, and while there has been a PC port available on other websites, and also emulators for Battlefront 1 Classic, it hasn't been on Steam. And then out of the blue, this port comes, and this version on Steam is released. And being a true Star Wars fan, and being someone who is deeply rooted in my own nostalgia, I decided it would be an interesting idea, and definitely a good idea, to purchase this new port. And I must say, just playing a few minutes of instant action, gathering this footage here, has shown me how much fun I used to have with this. It reminded me exactly of all the great times that I used to have. So just like my previous review, we're going to be going over gameplay, graphics, and all the good stuff. Let's get into this. Graphics. They're dated, for sure. Even with the glories of the PC Master Race, the game still looks 2004. And I must say, for being this old, and the graphics being what they are, I must say that the settings, referring to the locations you see in the game, they are still incredibly accurate to the locations in the movies and other forms of media. The maps, all of them, look incredibly detailed. And my favorite Battlefront maps from any of the games, whether they're old or new, two of them are in this game. And one of them is the one you're seeing here, which is the main Geonosis map. And the one that they redid in Battlefront 2 Classic, it's good, but this one is far superior. Alright, this one has, it feels like the Battle of Geonosis. It feels like a large-scale battle, and that's what you feel when you play this game. Even in instant action, where what's supposed to be just like a thing where you just go in and screw around and just shoot things and just experience a quick little battle, it feels like a battle. And that's what makes it super cool, because you get a sense of scale. The maps are all really large, and definitely, at least the Geonosis on this one, is a lot larger than the sequel. And I'm not saying that to crap on Battlefront 2 Classic. I'm just observing that it feels like the maps in this game are larger than the maps in its sequel. They're all accurate to the Star Wars lore. And they include notable features found around the map. The Tatooine maps have the cantina. Jabba's palace has the Rancor in the Rancor pit. And the Spire here has the full-on strategy room, the war room, that was seen in that scene in Attack of the Clones. And it's details like that that make this game, in its sequel, incredible games if you're a Star Wars fan. But the game is also great. It's an enjoyable shooter, even if you don't enjoy Star Wars. The game, like I said, the graphics, they're dated. And maybe I haven't done enough digging, but I couldn't find a resolution thing that would stick for recording. I told it to do 1080p, but it wouldn't do it. So instead we're left with these hideous black bars, and for that I apologize. I'd have it better if I could. But for what they were for their time, the map design makes up for the older graphics, and hopefully makes up for the disgusting black bars. Now let's talk about gameplay. The game functions like your typical FPS or third-person shooter, just different. Instead of feeling like the modern Battlefront games feel like, instead of feeling like a Star Wars painted battlefield game, these have a more of an arcadey type feel where it's, you know, you have objectives, you have control points and stuff to capture, you have a set goal in mind, but it's not crammed down your throat. You're free to explore the maps at your leisure. Of course, you're getting shot at, but you know, nothing's locked away from you. You don't have to wait until a certain part of the battle before you can get to go to the next area. You're free to explore the entire map at your leisure, given you're going to have enemies in your way. And it's not like the enemies are coming from one set spawn point. There's plenty of control points, but they're all over the place. It's not one control point here, and then you have a control point. It's not like a series of control points in an order that's directly in front of you. They're spread around, and enemies can infiltrate your control points and capture them, no matter how far away from their control points they are. So you could have a control point, let's say, at the completely polar opposite end of the map, and somebody can creep around there and take that, and you can have control points all over the place. So it's more arcadey in the sense of it's just a lot of random crap happening. It's chaotic, but it's an order. There's a strange order to the chaos, which makes it enjoyable. All the classes that you get to play as are unique, and they're fun. Sniping's fun when I can actually hit my shots. Riding in vehicles is cool, and having the ATTEs being spawn points, as well as controllable and drivable, is definitely a really cool feature. Vehicles are fun to toy around with. While they typically end up attracting a lot of attention from enemies such as the super battle droids with the "watch those wrist rockets," they are definitely powerhouses. And big vehicles like the ATTE and the AT-AT definitely feel like the powerhouses they are. And classes like the Droideka are definitely fun to play as. They're unique and they're crazy. You turn into your old death ball, you activate your shield, and you're pretty much invincible as you just spam lasers everywhere. Although you're pretty squishy when you're not in shield mode. And you can't really do anything in ball form, so again, there's balance to everything. I still hate Gungans. But it's like a rock, paper, scissors match. The Droidekas are weak to vehicles and explosives because there's only so much a shield can handle. Anything with a really powerful charge to it, like a tank shot, will be enough to really break through the shield. And enough spam from laser fire will eventually cause the shield to drop. And definitely, you know, your default classes are, you got your rocket dude, you got your jetpack dude, a sniper, a default clone, or other faction men, stormtrooper, rebel, droid, battle droid. Just has your default gun, you just run around and shoot things. It's a simplistic game. It's not meant to be anything super tactical. Of course, you can play it like a tactical shooter. You can always camp on top of things and snipe down like I'm doing. You have plenty of freedom. And while this game is lacking in space combat, you still do have access to starships, starfighters. So if you so desire, you can always take to the skies and rain down death on your enemies. You always have options of what you want to do. You can stealth around and try to take out people when they're not paying attention. You could always camp on top of things and snipe at people. Or you could go in guns blazing, grab a vehicle and just charge in there and start blowing up everything you see. That's the beauty of the original Battlefront games, is that in things like instant action, it gave you freedom to do whatever your heart desired. Especially with the heroes introduced in Battlefront 2, but we're not going to talk about Battlefront 2 no more. And the maps, like I mentioned earlier, they're expansive, and they add to the gameplay with turrets and such scattered around that you can just base yourself in and just spam laser fire everywhere. It's fun. And it's really cool, especially when you can snipe enemies out of the laser turrets. Meaning, even if you are in an armored turret, you're still vulnerable to grenades, missiles, and heavier weapons, but you're also vulnerable to headshots. So if someone's accurate, or if there's a sniper perched a good distance away from you, they can still take you out. So you're not invulnerable just because you're behind a powerful piece of equipment. So there's always a balance to everything, whether that be armored turrets or droidicas. You have the freedom to do pretty much whatever you want, but always know that there's going to be a counter for whatever strategy you go for. You can be completely unorthodox, and you can camp, for sure. But eventually someone's going to overwhelm your position, to the point where camping with a sniper rifle is ineffective against an entire battalion of troops. Now, let's talk about other content. As promised, the game features instant action, as well as Galactic Conquest, which is a more strategic Battlefront tone where you try to take control of the galaxy for your faction. And then you have battles on these planets to determine your control over them. You get to manage resources, and you get to choose whether you want a Jedi or Sith or other major character in the Star Wars universe helping you out. Unfortunately, you can't control heroes in this. So it means that you can only spectate or guide your heroes to victory. So you can't play as them, but you can fight alongside them. Disappointing, yeah, but it's still cool that you can fight alongside characters like Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader, Mace Windu, Count Dooku, and stuff like that. And I believe the Fets made their appearance here too. In case there's any Mandalorian fans. There's also things like instant action, which like I said earlier, is your more arcadey kind of do what you want type of a game mode, which is what I always enjoyed about the Battlefront games. Just giving you a big open battlefield to explore based in the Star Wars universe with iconic sites like these Wookiee bridges and such, and Wookiee camps. And then watch the droids rush in. And the interesting thing is that this game was released before Revenge of the Sith. So you don't have Gen 2 clones. You don't have Magna Guards. You don't have crazier Republic vehicles or anything like that. And you also don't have characters like General Grievous or stages like Mustafar. So, or the Kashyyyk we see in Episode 3 or in Battlefront 2 Classic. So they've taken liberties with maps like Kashyyyk and making an authentic Kashyyyk beach, yet not having the tanks and such used in the battle that we see in the movie, or that we see in other games. So it's definitely cool to see iconic things in Star Wars and still have plenty of characters to choose from, plenty of great classes, each with diversity. Although I have encountered this one annoying, I guess, glitch, where occasionally my character will reload or do a reloading animation like here, even after I've already reloaded. So I don't need to reload, but it does a reload animation, and I can't cancel it out. So my weapon could be completely full on ammo, but it will, for some reason, stop and reload, which is painful when I'm in the middle of a firefight, and in some cases can cost you a life. But let's move on from that for a second. And let's talk about we talked about gameplay, we talked about graphics, we talked a bit about features as well. Let's talk a bit about history. Now, this game was a really cool idea to make a Battlefield type game just with Star Wars. And as we all know, the idea turned out great. And I have, side note from the whole development thing, from the whole history of this game, I'm going to go back to that in a second. I have a major personal history with this game, as I mentioned earlier. This was one of the first Star Wars games I ever picked up, and I loved it to death. I got it for the PlayStation 2. And I remember spending hours playing on this map called Renvar, defending the ice caves. It's one of the coolest locations in any of the Star Wars games in my book. I can remember always holding this checkpoint with a bunch of clones, just like I'm doing here, and fighting against the onslaught of upcoming battle droids. I have so many memories of playing on these maps, of experiencing these situations, of having a droideka barricade us in and just berate all my fellow clones to death with laser beams. I have so many great memories with this game. I remember picking it up at the store and being so excited to get home and play this game. I played a lot of this game. And then when Battlefront 2 came out, I got it. Or when I heard that there was such thing as Battlefront 2. So in my book, that's the same thing as coming out. But this game always has a special place in my heart. I got family members and friends to play it with me. We do all sorts of fun things together. I remember when I was young, in the school lunchroom, one of my classmates in elementary school was talking about how he was so good at Black Ops 2. And that he was a big Call of Duty player and that he got a major kill streak the night before. But the night before, I had been spending playing on the PS2, playing Battlefront Classic. And playing a bit of Galactic Conquest. I played a match where I was playing as a sniper on Renvar, and Darth Vader was opposing our troops, and I remember sniping him and watching him drop his lightsaber and fall over dead. And I bragged about that at school. Nobody cared because, everyone's interested in Call of Duty, the big AAA titles. But I was still proud of my accomplishment nonetheless. Even though no one in my class was a major Star Wars fan, I still felt good that I had accomplished something that they hadn't. That I had defeated Darth Vader in Star Wars Battlefront. And it was a great feeling, and something I'm never going to really forget. This game has shaped my gaming experience over the years. Now let's talk about this game's technical history, switching away from myself. The game was originally released on Xbox Original and PlayStation 2. And it was also on PC as a CD-ROM and available on various online retailers as well. But it was never on Steam. And Battlefront 2 Classic was released on Steam, but for whatever reason, it took a lot longer to get the Classic Battlefront on Steam. And I kept looking for it, but it just wasn't on there. I realized I can always download an emulator or buy it off of another website for PC, or I could just go through the hassle of getting a DVD or CD-ROM for it and reattaching or reactivating my disk drive. But I was thrilled when literally a couple nights ago I was just looking on Steam for new releases, and under the new releases tab was Star Wars Battlefront Classic 2004. I was shocked, and I must say that was one of the quickest purchases of my gaming career. The second I saw that on Steam, it was an instant buy. And I must say, the experiences I've recalled gathering footage for this video have brought back so much nostalgia that it's absolutely unreal. I don't know what the delay was for getting this game on Steam, but they finally did it. And it caught me out of the blue. Now, I believe I've talked about this game for a decent bit of time, so I think it's about time that I get around to actually rating the game. My personal rating for nostalgia and how many great memories I have with it, to 10 out of 10. But in terms of everybody else who might not have had the same memories as myself, I'd give Battlefront 2 Classic a 10 out of 10 for both myself and gameplay-wise. But in terms of gameplay-wise and everything else factored in and kicking nostalgia to the curb, I'm going to give this game a solid 8 out of 10. Of course, factor in that my own personal rating is a 10. But the rating for throwing nostalgia and whatever and personal bias to the side would be an 8. Which is still pretty dang good. Would I recommend y'all play it? Heck yes. I would definitely recommend that y'all play it. It's a great game and still holds up pretty well today. So what are y'all waiting for? Go out there and relive the Star Wars Battlefronts. Relive all the classic battles of Tatooine, apparently, and see these iconic homesteads and locations. If you guys are interested in Star Wars or just want a good shooter to play, take a peek. You won't regret it. As always, Maxusthebeast is out.